gay man touch me on my shoulder and my hand. He touched my motorcycle too. I was more offended about that. Well, see, what had happened was last night, I went out to get some food, and I went out on my motorcycle. And, see, I left my house, and there is a guy around the corner, an old guy, who's always waving me down, telling me to go slow, all the time. And I'm never even going the speed limit. He's a bored old man. Whenever my dad used to live with me, my dad used to tell me, there's a guy around the corner, every time I go to work, telling me to slow down. He comes out in his driveway and goes, and tells him to slow down, and then shakes his head when you go by. And it's like, we don't even go the speed limit, right? He's just bored, he just wants to complain. So I'm driving past his house, and I thought it was him out there. Spoiler, it wasn't him, it wasn't this guy, right? But I thought it was him, and he starts waving at me, and I'm like, oh my god, I hate this guy, right? I've never talked to him before. Right when I go past him, he does the whistle with his fingers really loud, right? Super loud, and I'm just like, what the fuck? And then I hear him say something, and it sounds like, too fast! And I was like, oh no. I was like, did this guy really just do this? So I got really mad that this guy is now whistling and yelling at me instead of just waving me down. So I get around the corner, I turn around, I'm going to go back to him and talk to him, just be like, man, I don't know why you do this, I don't even go the speed limit. So I go back to him, and then I realize, oh, it's not his house, it's the house next to it. I don't know this guy. He didn't say too fast. What he said was, he whistled at me, and he goes, VMAX! Because I got a VMAX. He yelled VMAX, and I see him. He's in this wife beater. He's got to be like 68 years old, but you can tell he lifts like... He looks like Pauly Walnuts from The Sopranos. Google that real quick. Yeah, cat called. Oh, shit. Oh, my God. It was a fucking cat call. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. This is like the realization I was coming to as I was driving away after this encounter. And so I come back. So now this guy thinks I've just turned around to talk to him, which I didn't. I came to tell him off and tell him to stop telling me to go slow, but it's not even him. He's in a wife beater, though. His big curly chest hairs are all white. He's got like tanned leather skin, like he's just been down in Key West his entire life. And he's like, yeah, VMAX. He's like, oh yeah, man, I had one of these. He's like, they're so fast. He's like, 3-gallon tank, huh? Comes up to me, he goes to shake my hand, and I'm just like, he's like assaulting me verbally. I'm just like, oh, hey, what's up? Okay. I'm like, yeah, no, I love it. I'm just making, at this point, I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. Like, I'm just like, we're just making conversation. So I go to shake his hand. Right when I'm going in, it's too late to pull away. I notice he's got white stuff all over his hand. So I shake his hand, it's lotion. Lotion all over his hands. You can still see it. That's how badly he has rubbed lotion into his hands. So now I have this dude's lotion all over my hand, rubbing into it as he's shaking my hand. I'm like, oh, what the fuck, right? I'm like, that's disgusting. I can't wipe it off because he's right there. So I just put my hand back on my throttle, and I'm just sitting there like, yeah. He's walking around my bike, right? And he's looking at it, and he's just like telling me all the stats on my own bike. He's like, what year is it, 85? I'm like, no, it's an 86. He's like, oh, so it's one of the fast ones. I'm like, yeah. It's like, it's really fast. He's asking me if I have overheating problems, right? And I'm like, no, I don't have any overheating problems. Like, it's fine. He's like, yeah. He's like, mine used to overheat at stoplights. And I told him, at this point, I'm still just making conversation. And then I told him, I'm a little grossed out from the lotion. And I told him, I'm like, oh, yeah, no, sometimes it dies at stoplights. I'm having some idling issues right now. He's just like, oh, yeah, same thing happened to me. He's so excited. He's like, same thing happened to me, man. And then he comes up to me after walking around my bike. He comes up to me and puts his hand on my shoulder, gives me a good old rub. I mean, like a solid, very intimate rub right on my shoulder, feeling my collarbone, okay? Digs his thumb into it, and he goes, man, you better not go too fast out there. And I just look at him like, I'm like at his house, and I'm like, yeah, it's fast, right? And then I'm just sitting there. He starts talking about how it has a 3-gallon tank again. I'm like, okay. Yeah. And then, by the way, I'm trying to buy beer at Winn-Dixie also. And they close at 8 on a Sunday. So I'm sitting here like, shit, man. It's like 7:40. I'm like, I gotta go, dude. And I'm sitting there like, all right. And I'm like trying to go. And then he goes, okay, well. And he's like, I just moved in here. And I'm like, oh, great. I see up in the driveway, he's got his boy toy with him. Not even kidding. It's a dude who's like 10 years younger than him, slouched over, the beta of the relationship. He is obviously the alpha male, and that guy's up there. It's just those two. There's one car, and the guy's up there at the top, of his driveway, just sitting there looking at me, just looking like, and he just looks all sad. And I'm just like, oh, Jesus Christ. I'm suddenly realizing what's happening after the shoulder rub and everything. And then, and so I'm trying to get away, and he goes, he tells me his name, he asks me what my name is, I tell him. And then he goes to shake my hand again, same lotiony hand, it's so gross. And I go in there, and he does that. He takes his other hand and puts it on top of mine like he's proposing to me. Pulls it close to him, and he goes, okay, well, you have a good one then. He's like, remember, I live right here. And I just go, yeah, man, cool. And I just drive away. And then as I'm driving away, like, I'm still in, like, just, like, talkative. I don't really talk to a lot of people. So I'm just out there. I'm like, still in, like, talkative, socialized mode. And so I start driving away, and it all starts hitting me slowly. I was like, oh, my God, the whistle. I was like, the lotion, the boy toy, the you don't go too fast out there. Oh my God, I was like, that was a gay man with his gay hands touching all over me. And like, it doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but it was fucking weird to me. I don't have a problem with gay people, but I did not like it. After I figured out what was happening, I was flying down the fucking, I was flying down the highway on the way to Winn-Dixie, just going, oh no! Just yelling in the air. I was like, oh God! Oh no! I was freaking out.